Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a videocast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello Star Wars Destiny folks, and welcome back to Dice Commando and the Commando Cast. Today I'm here with ARH bigwigs and designers Elrathion and Echo3, and I'm going to be seeking answers from them about the upcoming set ARH 5 for Star Wars Destiny. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning back in. I hope your week has been going well. So gentlemen, thank you for joining me this morning and this evening, respectively. How's it going?
Yeah, good man. Very well, thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Well, for those of, I think everybody in the community is at least aware of your names on the Discord, but Echo, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, your Destiny background, and how you got put in charge of this train?
Well, my background, I'm a week one player of Destiny. Managed to pick it up within the first week of it releasing back in, was it the end of 2016? Was it that long ago? And then since then I've been involved in Echo Base as a content creator, founder along with Echo7. We've been a bit slow on the CC side of things recently, but we promised to pick that up. And my involvement in ARH started with the release of the last set, the beginning of the design phase of the last set, Rock Control. He used to join us Thursday nights, Echo Base weeklies, and I developed a good relationship with him, played a lot of friendly games with him. And when he was in charge, he asked me if I wanted to come and join the design team because he perceived that I had a good understanding of the game and the mechanics. And so from there, I moved into production after design, and then here I am. Elrathion kept me on for seeking answers, and now I've become Elrathion's wingman on the design front.
Nice, awesome. Well, how about you, Elrathion, the name that needs no introduction around these parts?
Yeah, as you guys know, I've been playing the game as well, like Echo from the beginning. I wouldn't say necessarily week one, but closely thereafter. It took me a couple of weeks to get introduced, and by the time I did, I couldn't get any product, which was beautiful. So it's kind of a scramble in the beginning, we're just excited that we can continue to bring in new talent like Echo, who has just been really kind of like working all kind of hours of the clock to help us get through set release. So, just been really excited to have him on board.
Awesome. Well, so you guys are co-designing this set, so I'll just throw it out there to you both. So for this set, what were the overall visions and objectives for what you were going for? What's kind of like the long-range arc?
Elrath?
So, when we were thinking about this set design, and I think Echo did a good job laying it out in the article, it's interesting as we're thinking through the journey that ARH has embarked upon and the continued trajectory. We kind of took stock of like, okay, so like we're like one set away from rotation, and looked backwards at what had been created, and we're thinking about how do we keep pushing forward, and what has been the community feedback regarding power levels and so on, and also just thinking through, how can we continue to keep the game interesting in a way that's sustainable, right? And so there's really multiple pathways to that. And one way people get excited about cards is seeing stronger cards, because then they're like, oh, wow, great, I could play with this. This is something that I really want to run. But then you run into problems long term because, um, things get too strong and all the old things are not playable. You can also grow by just making all of the calls and factions competitive, and that's been around for quite a bit. That multiple, it used to be for a little while, it used to be a blue world, and then yet red and yellow got really strong, and then they got potentially maybe too strong. Um, and so, but what we hadn't done in a while was to think about how to grow things horizontally, and how to think through, what are there's many other ways we can think about introducing uh, tactically new mechanics, keywords, etc., and how to just give more option without those options necessarily being more powerful than other things that are currently out there.
So you're talking more of like a wide creep type design than
Mhm.
like a tall, or I shouldn't
Yes.
say creep, but like a wide design versus a tall design.
Yes.
Got it. So then, Echo, when you came into this, what were your ideas, hopes, and dreams, being kind of on the newer side on this?
Oh, well, just to keep the game, primarily my involvement is because I love the game and I wanted to see it continue. Being invited to be a part of that, to help it grow, is quite a pleasure. It's tough. I mean, it's a full-time job outside of a full-time job. There is no denying that. I think there's a lot of work done behind the scenes, and it surprised me when I come on board just how much work is done. Um, yeah, it's been quite the experience, and I'm grateful for it.
And just to riff on what Echo is saying is that I think that's the common thread among everyone who has had an as active role in the development of a set as Echo has. That it's never quite understood um, how much work just goes into it, because like it keeps you up at night, and you're tweaking, adjusting, you're reading feedback, and you're kind of like, oh my god, is this going to work? How is this going to jive with everything? Have we tested things enough? It there's just a lot of this. It's really truly, like he says, a full-time job on top of a job. It's just unimaginable how much time goes into it.
Yeah, and from a project, I mean, obviously, I'm not involved on your guys' side of it, but from a project management standpoint, when you're managing multiple buckets, those buckets only see their interaction with you. They don't see your interaction with your other buckets, right? So, the project manager, whatever people see them doing, is typically doing way more than what is being visible. So, thank you guys for, thank you guys for jumping on that grenade for the rest of us, for sure. Right, so it's no secret because the article's already come out, which you referenced, that there are some new spice in this set coming up. So we've seen new mechanics. We've seen. I'll go ahead and bring her up now. This is Garsa Fwip. So she has a interesting mechanic. So Echo, can you walk us through Charm?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you a little bit about the backstory of how we came to Charm. We knew that Arath and I discussed that we knew that we wanted to hit musicians for the set. So we very much started off. We want to bring in musicians. They're very iconic throughout the Star Wars universe. How are we? What do they look like in Destiny? They're not damage dealers. Some of them are a little bit sly and a bit. Some of the characters that you see. Those characters are developed through the Clone Wars TV series. There's a lot of background to musicians. We weren't entirely sure how they wanted to come about, and we eventually settled on this mechanic Charm. And then we looked at a broader picture with charm, and we thought, hang on, a keyword such as this and its ability, there are more, let's air quote this, charming characters to the Star Wars universe than just musicians. So it became a broader, it became broader in our design scope of the type of characters that we could bring in. For example, Garsa Fwip. There's no secret that perhaps this set may have some Book of Boba Fett inspiration and character themes going on with her inclusion. She stood off the screen, and so it was like she'd be perfect, or she's a charming character, right? So integrating that mechanic, this kind of influence, so to speak, these characters, they influence other characters. That was kind of the foundation of how we come about with the design philosophy on it. And then putting it into practice took a lot of twos and throws. We ebbed and flows with do they activate and have that ability, or do we want to almost make it a slight chess match by adding a new token and having these characters interact with these tokens? And that also added an extra layer of design space for us moving forward. So it was, let's just say it plays out quite the chess match if you're in a charm versus charm mirror match. It's definitely a third level.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Echo was saying about kind of the iterations, it was very much kind of an iterative process, where we just like at the earlier stage we're just not content with, to introduce a keyword or to introduce an ability. It has to be something that like is not too myopic in nature, to where if it only fits musicians, right? We were like Echo and I were talking, like, how many musicians do we have? And we started like doing like an inventory, and like how many can put like in this set and next set and like in future sets, and like it's like how what's our ability to like keep this story alive and make it interesting and worthwhile for people to pursue, right? And so the ability for us to come up with something that has shelf life beyond just the musician, made it much more interesting.
So let me ask this. Now we're obviously introducing new mechanics, multiple, but we're introducing them in a obviously mature game. How do you as designers, and I'll send this over to you first, Elrath, how do you guys as designers approach, obviously when it comes in, it has to have support and probably, a weighted support within the new set. How do you make sure the set's not too dominated by that, but then how do you make sure that the mechanic itself is supported? How did you guys approach the balance concept of that from a design standpoint?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have done, which is novel, while in the previous set developments, there was always communication as sort of a handoff between design leads. There was never a point in time where any design lead was part of the team of a new set. So, Agent of Zion was set lead in the first set, but he was not part of the design team of the second set. I was set lead in the second set, but I was not part of the design of the third set. And while we kind of handed off to the next banner bearer, so to speak, and so we said, "Hey, here's what we've done. Here's what you hope you will do. Here's kind of the parameters of detect, and here's what we hope you do with it." And we kind of, from a bird's eye level, looked at things and gave recommendations and feedback. We were not as actively involved within that continued storyline, and so it didn't make it as easy to continually kind of broaden out that design philosophy, even though we tried to make that work as to the best of our ability. this is the first time with Set 5 that we've actually co-developed the subsequent set, and had one team work on both sets with the onset of these new mechanics, and thought through it from a much longer time perspective in mind, to think through what are we going to be introducing now, what are we going to be introducing in a future set, and so on. And have several people look at it from kind of that longer time frame in mind, to make sure that the mechanic will have longevity.
I see. So you've essentially, well, to say co-design is probably not true because they clearly happened at different times, but your design arc or your design concept is the same for 5 and 6, or at least continued into 6, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, correct. Yes, that's correct.
All right, great. Well, you guys, in the article yesterday, or as of the day we're shooting this, not as the day this is going live, sorry, but the article that recently came up, you guys spoiled that there was also going to be a new die side, and that's something that people have been waiting for since Legacies. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up the first of our spoilers, and Echo, you can walk us through this, and people's eyes will surely be drawn to a certain part of the card.
Okay. So this is Rey. She's Jedi in waiting. She's 13 health, 14 18. Here's the fun part. 2 melee, 3 melee, 1 focus, and 2 reroll. A 1 resource and a blank. Power action, choose one. Remove 3 Jedi support dice from your pool and spend 2 resources to flip this character. Or you can roll a Jedi die on one of your cards in play into your pool. So I'll back that up and we'll focus on the reroll. So what that effectively means is, so when you resolve a reroll symbol, it allows you to reroll an amount of dice equal to the value on that die when resolved. And the important part is yours and or an opponent's. So you can think of it as almost a nature's charm, so to speak, if you remember that card from Way of the Force. So a big part of Destiny is in the RNG of the game. And for me, I felt that there's been quite an influx in focus sides, and perhaps that's kind of taken the RNG out of the game somewhat. And so introducing this die symbol with this ability, you can almost, from a gameplay mechanic, you can use it defensively. Perhaps you wait on your opponent to resolve their focus. Then you can resolve your reroll and reroll 2 of their dice. Or if an opponent's showing max on 1 and you're showing a blank, perhaps you resolve it to reroll your opponent off of their best side and reroll yours into an aggressive side. Like I remember there's it was classed as a big brain play. I remember as the European Championship final, Mad Dutson played overconfidence on his own die and an opponent's die. And it went the other way. He got the high value and they got the low value. So that kind of philosophy of just increasing RNG, perhaps I wouldn't say it's going to reduce people's packing the sweet spot of 10 to 12 mitigation cards in deck, but perhaps it can just, as I said, the main value is to add a bit more RNG into the game. From my perspective, that was my outlook and design space that I wanted to go with it.
So counter focus, yeah. I hadn't thought about that. Counter focus, I kind of like that. So Elrathion, question for you then. I know you're a value guy, kind of like I am. How did you guys land on the valuation of this, right? Because I know obviously if you're only re-rolling your own die, it's effectively 1 card, right? Whether it be a 1 or whether it be a 5. But the fact that you can reach into your opponent's pool, how did you guys land on the valuation? Or is there a distinct valuation? Because I imagine like focus, it's hard to value that, right? So how did you guys approach that?
Yeah, it's very difficult to evaluate because it's very situational. It kind of lands itself into that disrupt space almost, where in a certain circumstance where your opponent's last reroll turns into like a god roll, and then you can mess with it, and they don't have no more cards to reroll. It could just be insanely high value that saves you, potentially like 6 damage or something crazy. And in another scenario, like where your opponent just rolls one good die at a time and resolves it, um, you know, it might be less value. So it's very much of a situational value.
And in your guys' testing, have you guys found that this die side is? I mean, in my head, I guess it seems like it would be more useful for a control type player than an aggro type player. Is that what you found, or is that not accurate?
I try to take that echo.
It fits both archetypes. We have a few cards designed around it as a mechanic, that will reward an aggressive play with
Okay.
resolution of reroll. Slight spoiler there for things to come. Also, seeing it used defensively as well from a control perspective. The other thing that's worth noting with it is it's kind of its identity and where it lands within Destiny. So factions throughout Destiny, they've always had synergies and identities. Blue Hero, since day one, you play Blue Hero, you're expecting to put out a shield wall, and utilizing shields offensively, defensively. More recently, with high stakes release, we had the renew keyword, which not strictly unique to Blue Hero. It did creep into neutral cards, but for this, we wanted it to be a new identity to Blue Hero. Does that mean it's exclusive to Blue Hero? No, the short answer is no, because there are, let's say, 4 sensitive characters that would make sense to include within other faction colors.
I see. All right. Well, in that context, let's go ahead and move on to the next spoiler I have up. So this is Luke Skywalker's spirit. So Elrathion, can you walk us through this one?
Yeah. The Jedi Force Ghosts, if you will, have been something that have been part of the game for a long time, and so we're excited to introduce Luke's Force Ghost. Obviously, has the discard from play if you control Luke Skywalker, and it has some really potent effects from a support control perspective. So first of all, you'd notice the 2 reroll symbols, and those are certainly um, can have a very strong impact. But then also throw back to old man Luke. Resolve one of your blue dice showing a shield as if it were melee damage. I think a good transition from Luke being more a dominant force to one that helps support the team afterwards as he transitions to Force Ghost.
Yeah, fair enough. This guy's very much a manipulator. He can focus. He can give you shields. Well, I guess he can hit. I guess if you power action, but he can flip and he can reroll. Nice. All right, and then for our last spoiler, Echo, you take us away on the Way of the Jedi. That art looks very familiar.
So this is a 1-cost Blue Hero event. The Way of the Jedi. Spot a blue character to remove an opponent's die showing damage. You may spot a Jedi and spend 1 resource to remove an opponent's die not showing damage. This is it is powerful. It is a multi-die. If you can spot the Jedi, it is a multi-die removal card for Hero Blue. We have been conscious about the power level of removal in the game, multi-die removal. You have Headstrong for yellow. You have Power of the Tribe for Command, red. Blue Hero, so Blue Villain have, is it Your Thoughts Betray You? Is that? Your powers are weak, sorry. Your powers are weak. And with this, bear in mind that with Spark of Hope rotation, they lose their bomb mitigation card in Jedi Mind Trick. So that was the philosophy and the design of giving them a multi-die removal card.
Makes sense. Yeah, so it's online. It's a 2 die for 2 in most cases, and a little more flexibility there. Okay.
Yeah.
But with a drawback, sometimes just casino gets beaten. And then you're like, I'm going to spend 2 to remove 2 dice, but I can't. It's ultra damage. You can only get rid of 1.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and take us back to the character because that's what I always get excited about. So we'll just leave that up while we wrap up here. But so I'm very excited to obviously see. I know that we're May 4th, so we're roughly 3 weeks away, closing in on you guys. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes as the more spoilers come out over the next. Presumably by the time this comes out, there'll have been other spoilers out already, and curious to see how this is all going to fit in with each other. So I'll go to you first, Elrathion. What are your hopes on this one in terms of how it's received, other than people love it, right? I mean, obviously that's the hope, right? But
I hope that it leads to an age of deck building and experimentation. I really, I look back at like when we just released Redemption and the database was just exploding with new decks, and there were the weekly tournaments, and the Echo Base tournaments, the the Dice Commando tournaments, the Entourage tournaments, etc. Whenever you joined one or watched them, this is the case with me. I love to observe and to take note of things. And in our local meta, like there was constantly people trying different things, seeing, looking to try to build new decks, and there was excitement. I want there to be excitement around deck building. I want people to be passionate about trying new things, and for and not to be obvious at all what they should play or what they should have fun with. And so hopefully that brings about the start of a new journey. In addition, this is also a set leading up to Worlds, and so it has to be something that is captivating to people. So I hope it is received in that fashion.
awesome. Well, how about you, Echo?
Well, I'll mirror Elrathion's thoughts. I just hope that it can captivate players, bring players back in. We've seen a resurgence of late in real life play. In the UK, this is my hunting ground, so I have to talk about the UK to an extent. We had a tournament a few weeks ago up in Nottingham, and there was players that I used to face monthly at regionals years ago who I did not know had picked up ARH and were then part, but they had actually been playing at home with their friends. They just hadn't been a part of the online TTS community or part of actually part of the Discord even. So I wasn't actually aware that they were still following the game. But hopefully we can just bring players back, bring players in, just keep the game alive. That's all I ask. I just want people to keep playing. That's what I want from it.
Well, fair enough. All right, well, I mean, we've got the spoilers out already. We talked about the new mechanics, so we hit all our bullets. Anything else you guys want to chat about before we wrap up and get out of here?
I wanted to just a quick message to the community in apologizing for this spoiler of a spoiler. I had to get that out of the way. I think it should be good anticipation to wait X amount of time to see Rey's flip side. Please don't please don't send me any hateful DMs for spoiling a spoiler.
Don't worry.
My
They'll
parting
they'll
comment.
go to me. They'll go to me. It's all good.
Okay. I apologize to you on that front then.
All right, great. Well, hey, I want to thank you both for joining. I know this was kind of last minute. It's Sunday morning for Elrath. It's Sunday evening for you, Echo. So thank you guys both for making this happen and for being the project managers for this and continuing to drive it forward, not just in this set, but in other avenues as well. We definitely are at I'd say we're at a crossroads for Destiny over the next couple of months, or couple sets, I should say, maybe year, depending on how it be. But it's time for us to start picking up and moving forward. So thank you for driving that effort. All right. Well, with all that said, any last minute comments, thoughts, complaints, whatever it may be?
Just thank you for your input, for continuing to support ARH and the content. It means the world.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate all you do to keep Destiny alive and the great content that you produce faithfully. It's a great source for both new players and established players alike. And just also want to just articulate that we're here for the community. And so if anyone needs help or support in any fashion to help rekindle their local meta, send us a PM and let's see how we can collaborate.
Awesome. Well, sounds good. All right. Well, with that said, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you to these two gentlemen. Gentlemen, you got to say it with me. Go Commando.
Commando.
Go Commando.